Good evening, Pretend Football fans, and welcome to the Week 6 broadcast right on top of Old Smoky Butte. I'm your Uncle Sike, and with me as always is Sike's old buddy, Maul Paderos. Maul, how are you doing this week?
Fantastic, Uncle Mike. Things are really great in the pretend football land. I don't know if I've ever been so excited for a single week of pretend football.
You know, it's true. This does mark, the bell is tolling for the middle of the season, and right. This is just a magical week.
Yeah, the halfway point is when the cream really rises to the crop, when the best teams really start to separate themselves, and we'll see how the last 6 weeks of the regular season go. But we definitely have some very powerful teams in the league, and we have some real misery at the bottom.
Absolutely indeed. I cannot wait to see how everything shakes out. As you know, Sike Mander's always looking to the future of pretend football. Well, let's get right down to it. Do you got a matchup for us this week, Maul?
Yes, we do. It's a sad one. It's a sad one for the Maul's matchup this week. You see, horror washed over the hushed crowds gathered at Hangar 1 this week, as the fans of the Dirigibles were gifted a shellacking the likes few had ever seen before. Oh, the humanity of it all, as the defending NJC FFL champion Catskill Cleavers eviscerated the Blimps, 131.5 to 69.5. Now, Coach Joe Pfeiffer licked the blood from the newly dulled edge of his cleaver as the squad assaulted the Blimps from all sides. Quarterback Matt Ryan had a huge 32-point performance to lead all scorers, but that was only the beginning. Tariq Hill, finally back from his early season injury, was a force to be reckoned with, scoring 22.5 powerful pretend points, and Chris Godwin was equally destructive, adding 22 more. An amazing feat it was that these three butchers scored enough points between them to flatten the Blimps before they even got off the ground. Coach Medeiros' plan of starting multiple Chargers effectively eliminated all hope for victory. Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler combined. Get this, they combined for 9 total points.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
now,
my.
It's bad. It seems the Blimps were scuttled before they even started to get airborne in this one, a complete failure for all the true fans of the NJC FFL out there. This week's dominant performance vaults the Cleavers to the top of the $30 bullet division, solidifying his chances of a three-peat and putting the rest of the league on notice that all roads to a title pass through the mountains. While the slack-jawed Blimps sank to third in the division, struggling to find their way back from this demeaning and devastating loss. Like, you know, I am not a fan of Coach Joe Pfeiffer. I don't believe that he is a righteous man. I do not believe that the Cleavers are the team of destiny. But man, did they put a hurting on the Blimps this week.
You know, and rightly so. I will say that a lot of people have doubted the Catskill Cleavers as far as this entire season has gone. And I've been telling everyone that they should not sleep, that they should not rest, for the laurels upon last year rest upon the forehead of possibly the greatest champion this league has ever seen.
Well, I mean, he is cerebral. He is a thinker. He's always playing the angles. He's always shooting from the hip, and he's going to be hard to stop. There's some great teams out there this year, but he has climbed. He started off 0-2, but he's climbed his way to the top of the division, and he's dangerous. He's very good at pretend football, and we mentioned
absolutely that's true.
That's right. We mentioned Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. They were somewhat bad at pretend football, but there were some players out there that were real bad at pretend football this week.
That's absolutely true. We have a list compiled of some of the worst. They're just so bad at fantasy football.
Just so bad at fantasy football. Josh Rosen. People were really hot on Josh Rosen, thought maybe he could have a pretty decent fantasy football season. He was the literal worst starter in Pretend Football this week. -1 fantasy football point from Josh Rosen this week.
Wow. I mean, Saints and Begora, that's pretty terrible. But you know who else was pretty bad? That would be Jared Goff. Jared Goff, a quarterback who scored a single fantasy point. Excellent job, Jared Goff. Your mediocrity shines so brightly.
Yeah, only to be outdone by a pair of wide receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster, considered by many at the start of this season a blue-chip prospect, potentially to be one of the best Pretend Football wide receivers there was. Last week, 0.5 points.
Ouch.
One half of 1 point.
That's pretty bad. I mean, as far as that goes, it's even more embarrassing to score a half a point than it is to score 0.
I would completely agree.
Absolutely. And I mean, of course, Juju Smith-Schuster is immediately followed, of course, by Vance McDonald and Amari Cooper, both who scored the same, 0.5 points. These were starters. They were on the field. What they were doing there, I don't know.
Yeah, these were poor decisions by the coaching staffs to put these guys out into the starting lineups. 0.5 points from those two players is a bit of a shocker, but I mean, that's sometimes how the Pretend Football world goes. And there's another astonishing starter this week, Paul Richardson. Paul Richardson scored 0 points. He was in the starting lineup, and he did not get not even a single point, not even a single half of a point.
You have to wonder at this point if starting the mascot would have been a better choice than starting Paul Richardson, who 0 points. That means you've literally done nothing, nothing meaningful.
You could have literally just sat no one, played someone on a bye week and had the same results. Paul Richardson 0. It's an abysmal performance.
Absolutely. His shame will last forever, and his family will have to bear it as they go. We do also have an honorable mention before we get to Sike's Scalpel of Marcus Mariota, who scored -2 points. Now, thankfully, he was not started. He was sitting on the bench, just stinking up the place with that abysmal total.
Yeah, it's a blessing that no one decided to start him. I mean, Josh Rosen gets to be our worst Pretend Football athlete this week, but Marcus Mariota potentially could have been that much more worse, and that's really a shame. I wouldn't have expected that this week.
Absolutely. That is it is honestly a supernova of badness.
Yeah, it's terrible. But you know what's not terrible? Opening up a brand new scalpel. What do you got for us this week?
Well, Maul and the listeners, I want you guys to expand your minds a little bit, all right? I want you to take a seat back. Just sit back in your seats and just open your minds a little bit, because Sike's Scalpel is going to pose some questions that may be distressing to those viewers who can't open their mind's eye wide enough. So, let's get the scalpel and let's start cutting. I posit it to you, O fair listener, how exactly can one prepare the headstone of an alien? Do they measure time the same as we fragile humans, or do they, in their infinite understanding of our physical universe, simply accept their doom and give up the care of such earthly things? I can tell you this, friends, no body from our blue-green jewel in the Sol system, no being born on our common clay lay upon my autopsy table here in week 6. I tell you, Sike was the one that prepared the body. It's true, 'twas I that placed that gray flesh into a coffin meant for a child. How appropriate. because the Pine Lake Park Tombstones arrived late in the night to haul that corpse away, 104-99. The PLP Tomb Zone was awash with excitement to see this battle in the Charlie Wing division. The perennial underdogs, the Tombstones, versus the Roswell 51sters struggling to reach the top, currently locked in a death grip with the Philadelphia Fanatics +1. Most of the home crowd was here to see an upset, a hungry shine behind their eyes. You see, they knew an ancient secret. They knew that death plays no favorite among king and beggar. The aliens would not Naruto run quietly into that long night and led the charge with Stefan the Star Child Diggs, who hauled in 40.5 points on an 11-target game, and Devonta Draconis Alpha Freeman, who scored 24.5 points in an 88-yard effort with 2 short touchdown receptions. Other standouts included Sony the Schwarzschild Radius Michelle with 11 points, and Tevin Coleman with 12 points. However, the 51sters chose the Tampa Bay D, which was manhandled for a loss of 3 points, or, as our good friend the Funchies would say, creatively molested. The Pine Lake Park Tombstones rolled back with the inevitability of stone, however. Deshaun Watson scoring 29 in a 280-yard game, and Ezekiel Elliott reaping a grim harvest of 24.5 points in a fantastic triple-digit effort of 105 yards. Other standouts included Phillips Lindsay with 14 points, and Brandon McManus, old Deadfoot himself, adding a respectable 10 kicking points. The higher middle players, those that didn't stand out, would actually set the stage for the Pine Lake Park's victory, pushing up their baseline, but it was a mistake from the 51sters that would truly nail shut their coffins. If the 51sters had gone with the New Orleans defense, left to rot amidst the pine, the tide would have turned in Roswell's favor. This is another illustration of how a single mistake can turn a close victory into a disastrous defeat. Will the Roswell 51sters recover? Or will this slip be the tale that brings their late season hopes to ruin? My friend, only time can tell.
I just want to say, that was beautiful, man.
Thank you. I liked it myself. But it's truly just another sign that you can't know the outcome. When you get together and you get all your pretend players onto that pretend field and the pretend referee blows that pretend whistle, you don't know what's going to happen in pretend football. Let's leave our listeners, however, with a brighter picture. From all of us here at Pretend Sports Broadcasting, we hope you have a wonderful night.